the criminal investigation, Bureau of Investigation. That is the, okay. So actually CBI I wanted to mean that is the content-based language teaching, that is CBLT, or it has a different name that I have said, that is content-based instruction. That is the title of our today's class. Okay, so you see that we are in the verge of our course. Okay, in this section we will try to understand these two language learning methods, that is content-based instruction. Okay, so let me make my okay, it's okay. So if it creates problem, I will stop my video. Okay, but okay, so can you see the slide?
No, sir.
No, sir, not yet.
Now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, it's coming. That is also a content-based instruction, that is a CBI, or content-based language teaching. So in the initial stage, I had been asking some question, that is in which medium from which medium you have come up over here to study, and that indicates the history of English language teaching. Actually, in case of Bangladesh, we see several techniques of several kinds of language study, or the or the education, that is the national curriculum, version system, technical school system, and English medium. And that is in case of language learning, actually we have gone through several methods, and we have gone through several approaches of second language learning. But here in this section, some researchers says that a language actually can be learned according. In case of Suggestipedia, we have said that actually language can be earned through through the suggestion or some stimulation or some motivation. In case of direct method, that no translation will be allowed. English language will always be learned through the version of the target language. And in case of grammar translation method, we see that the translation is necessary because the cognition is necessary in case of learning the second language. That is the several approach. And in case of audiolingual and other methods and approaches, we have gone through several ways and several approaches that how we can study and how we can learn the second language or the target language effectively. Here in CBI, the CBI, according to several critics or linguists, they say that CBI, that means language can be learned properly when language learner tries to earn the content. Language learner are trying to learn the information. Okay, so if you are ready to achieve the information or the messages in your target language, then language learning might be effective. Okay. So that is, in a narrow sense, can be called that CBI, that means content-based language teaching. That means in this study, we see one sort of content, that is a content will be there, and we see a language will be there. So content is, what does it mean? That means when we will be studying history, for an example, in history classes, that means you will see the chronological history of a country, then you are attending the history. That means history is the information you are trying to gather in the history class. But if the version, that means if you attend history class not in Bangla, if you attend history class in English language, that means the target language, then according to CBI, that language learning will be effective. And that is the chief concern of uh, content-based instruction or the content-based language teaching or learning. So am I clear a bit? Okay. So here several several critics has come up, several critics have come up with their ideas. That what are the, that is, Ryan K offers the following definition of CBI. It is a teaching of content or information in the language being learned with little or no direct or explicit effort to teach the language itself separately from the content being taught. That means you are learning language. Suppose you are here, we are teaching English language. You have come up to study at the Department of English, Jagannath University, to learn language. So it is a language-based class that here you are supposed to get some idea of language learning or language learning experience you will be gathering over here in this class. So it is basically a language class. But according to CBI, if we want to study language in a history class in English language, in a geography class in English, in a physics class in English, that concern is the CBI. That means content-based in instruction. That means physics is the content, history is the content, and the geography is the content you are trying to gather. But the version, that means the expression that you are getting, that is the version or the medium, that is the English language, that is in target language. So that is called CBI. And many of you might raise the question that, sir, will it be applicable only for the English language? No. If we want to learn Spanish language, you have to attend history class in Spanish language. So the information is that the key point of CBI is that language teaching becomes effective when you will be learning or when we're trying the content or information in the target language. And that is the CBI or content-based instruction. Okay, so many critique has come up in this regard. Okay, so content, what would be the content? So there are some debate about the content. That is, what should be the content and which one the content. So in this regard, the answer will be getting at the time of discussing the instruction of CBI. So approximately there are these are the idea of the CBI, that means content-based instruction. And this content-based instruction offers some challenges. Okay, what are the challenges? That is, what would be the curriculum? How the curriculum will design? Okay, because in the history class, the history teacher will be teaching you, and in the language class, a language teacher will be teaching you the language. So okay, so these challenges might get solution with the answer, that is the Bhashan school. What the Bhashan school is doing in Bangladesh, that means they are teaching history in English language. They are teaching geography in English language. They are teaching physics, mathematics in English language. That might be the answer. But is that the question is that the teachers who are supposed to teach in Bhashan schools, they have to be multidimensional. That means they should have the knowledge of English language, and also they should have the knowledge of geography and physics. So physics teacher might not be efficient in teaching the language curricula, especially following the design of CBI. That is a one kind of challenge actually. And actually, um, uh, the challenges also come from the learners as well. Actually, the what would be the merit of the learners? The learners uh, will say that uh, okay, which one I will be put focusing on. Okay, so there should be a research that if a student attends geography classes in English, what would be the output? If a student attends geography classes in English, what would be the output? There should be a research, and according to that, and very severe criticism has come up against this CBI. That is, actually the learners do not learn the content and do not learn the language. That means it becomes a hodgepodge. That is, the learner learns nothing in CBI. So that is another kind of challenges we come up in CBI. But so far as I have asked the question in the initial stage of our class, that that means how many of you come up with the Bhashan school. Actually, the Bhashan school started its journey later in Bangladesh, so you may not come up with the Bhashan school. In case of the Bhashan school, there is a allegation or the challenges we see that the exact translation of the text written in Bengali is a challenge in case of Bangladesh, and the translated books and the books were translated by NCDB in Bangladesh, but the translation is not up to the mark, and that is one kind of challenges. And also the students' merit and the cognition level is also another challenges of CBI for learning English language. So these are the severe criticism against. So the good or the meritorious learners will be learning English language efficiently following CBI, and the less meritorious students will be learning English less following the CBI, according to several critics. But several other critics said that no, the learners will learn nothing, not the content, nor the language. Okay, whatever may be the scenario, according to the information or the definition of CBI, several motifs of English language teaching comes up. That means language across the curricula, the proposal that was established. Another system that has comes up that is quite similar to CBI, that is the immersion education, has had a strong influence on the theory of contents-based education. Immersion education is a type of foreign language instruction in which the regular school curriculum is taught through the medium of foreign language. Okay, so here, as you see the slide, that means immersion English, the Bangladeshi's version school can be called the immersion school. That I am trying to make you understand. That is the immersion school. That means, so here, there we see that is some students immersion program includes developing a high level of proficiency in the foreign language. Actually, immersion school education is applied in many countries of this world, and the demand the developing foreign language to the apex. They want that, and developing positive attitude towards those who speak the foreign language and towards their cultures actually as well. So and developing English language school con, uh, com, commons commensurate with um, expectation for a student's age and abilities. So that will also be done according to the student's age and merit ability, and gaining designated school and the knowledge in the content areas of the curriculum. So what do you see? So immersion education might be an example of CBI, but that is set in getting a high voltage objectives of language learning. As we have seen, that is also immersion education tries to teach you language as well as tries to teach you culture as well. So that is the immersion school. Another motif of CBI comes up, that is the immigrant on arrival programs. That can also be called another example of CBI. That is, that focuses on the language newly arrived immigrants. As you see, that the title suggests that it simply means that when a new immigrant will be coming to a new country, they can do for the communication. So to meet up the common goals or the living, some language formula can be taught, and that is can be conducted in this immigrant on arrival program. That can also be another example of CBI. And another example, that is the programs for the students with limited English proficiency. Okay. So they are also governmentally mandated programs to serve especially those children whose parents might be served by the non-arrival programs and more than gradually. So that can also be an example of CBI. That means what is the content over here? In case of the immigrant will try to learn language what are necessary to meet up their daily activities. That means for purchasing things. That means for making a phone call. That means for asking help. That means for going to somewhere else. That is the content over here. And in case of the students and the limited English proficiency, the students who are supposed to go to study a subject over here, then the students are asked to attend the program to study the vocabulary of the concerned subject areas. That is the program. So that means suppose a student goes to study biology in UK or USA. So that students, if he doesn't have the stock of words related to biology, that the biological vocabulary will be taught to the students who doesn't have proper knowledge in their education. So the biological vocabulary would be this content of this student, and that would be taught in CBI. So that's R. So according to this CBI, we have come up with other special program that is come up, that is language for specific purposes. Many of you heard the name of this course, that is language for specific purposes. And that is actually many of the doctors and engineers, they can do so because in case of doctors, their job is very challenging when they are supposed to visit another countries. And for this reason, this course is basically for the doctors and the engineers who are supposed to practice abroad. That is language for specific purposes, where they what sort of, so it is another sort of CBI. That means here a doctor will be taught the vocabulary that is related to the patient, hospital, medicine, and blah, blah. Okay, so that is called the language for specific purposes. We see another thing most probably that will come up, that is, yeah, most probably we have missed. Yeah, here it is not in mentioned, that is language for professional purposes. That is another. And also professional purposes, that what do you do if you want to study in USA, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada? You have to sit for IELTS examination that will guarantee you that your level of English language is good. But if you are a doctor and if you want to practice in UK or USA, you have to sit for an exam that is EOP. That means, have you seen in the slide, EOP, the English for occupational purposes. That means you have to sit for an examination, first part in Bangladesh, and the second part you can sit for in the Manchester University, Manchester, UK. That means that is a one sort of CBI. That means content-based instruction. So many content-based instruction will be there. That is, you can learn language and you can learn content simultaneously, and that approach or method is called CBI. So these are the approach. So approach is, that means what we have started. We have started with the idea, that is most probably we have got the clear idea about CBI, and also here is the approach you see, that is that is the approach means that the theoretical underpinning regarding a method. So CBI is a method of language teaching. So what is the theory behind this CBI? So here that we mentioned earlier, again, we see the same information that people learn a second language more successfully when they use the language as a means of acquiring information rather than as an end in itself. So when students or a language learner will be trying to acquire information or messages, then language learning will be efficient. So that is the theoretical underpinning of CBI. And we have given some examples of CBI previously in this class. Okay. So second one, the content-based instruction better reflects learners' need for learning a second language. Okay. So actually, another thing is that is the functional English that comes up. Actually, after the discovery of CLT, that means communicative language teaching, we have got another thing, the idea that's the applied linguistics. The study of applied linguistics started with the second half of the 20th century at the discovery of CLT. What do we say? I would say discovery or invention. I don't know. Okay, so after the discovery of CLT, we have come up with the applied linguistics theory or applied linguistics branch. In the same way, we see that content-based instruction has come up with another idea, that is the functional English, that is the need-based English. So suppose you are here, nearly 40 students are there in this class. So I don't need, many of you are advocates, many of you are teachers, many of you are doctors, many of you are might be engineers or something else. So your necessity is different. Individual to individual difference are there in necessity. Okay, so CBI, what do they do? What does CBI do? That is, CBI clicks on the necessity. And according to the necessity and function, the CBI teach or instruct second language learning. So that is another point regarding the CBI. Okay, so here that is we have talked about the theory of language learning. Okay, so another thing, that is in case of design, and you know that in case of every method there will be some design, teacher source and other notes. We will try to cover up this very quickly. That is, what would be the design of CBE to activate and to develop existing English language skill, okay, to acquire learning skill and strategies that could be applied in the future language development opportunities, and to develop general academic skill applicable to university studies in all subject areas, and to broaden students' understanding of English speaking people. So there are some objectives or design of CBI. So you see that is we see that same design will be there. In case of the syllabus of CBI, that might be tricky. That is, in case of several organization of the intensive language course at the Free University of Berlin consists a syllabus. That is, the topical theme of the modules are drugs. Actually, it's related to the doctors, as I have said, that English for occupational purposes, English for specific purposes, English for specific purposes, what you can say that aeronautics English. Okay, so the flight captain will be flying the plane. So next language is necessary. So if the captains are supposed to study English language, what would be the language? And what would be the words necessary for a captain or a pilot? Sorry, not captain, pilot. And the pilot's English can also be called the English for professional purposes. So here you see that is the syllabus of professional English, especially for the drugs, that is for the doctors, that is drugs, religious persuasion, advertising, drugs, Berlin, Britain, and the rest questions. So the Native Americans, modern architecture, microchip technology, ecology, alternative energy, nuclear energy, and Dracula in myth, novel, and films, and the professional ethics. So these are the several information necessary for several students. So if the language learner, try to gather information from this article, they will be getting the related vocabulary, and according to CBI, that language learning will be successful if any learner tries to gather information or message through the language learning processes. So that is all. And types of learning and teaching activities, as we see, that is the language skill improvement. As we know, these are the vocabulary building, discourse organization, communicative reaction, study skill. These will be the objective necessarily for every language learning method. So you will be understanding. So learner's role over here. So what would be the learner role? In case of every method, we see learner's role and teacher's role. So what is the learner role in CBI? CBI will be, the first thing will be, that is the one goal of CBI for the learners to become autonomous. That means learner have to be try yourself. In case of GMT or some other method, we see that teacher-centered approach, but CBI becomes a learner-centered approach. That means the learner should play the vital role for learning language. Okay, so we have to do it. And other activities, that means co-study. Learner activity, that means the partners will be the partners. There will be the collaborative. That means we can say co-study. Okay, that can also be the role of CBI. So what they will be trying to gather information, they will try to learn language through your own of it. That can be called the autonomous English language learning. And the second one, they will be trying to study between friends or classmates. That is, the group study is also important in case of the learner's role in CBI. And the teacher's role over here, that I have said that the challenges comes from CBI, from the teacher's part. CBI anticipates the change in the typical roles of the language teachers. Instructors must be more than just good language teachers, that I have said. That is that actually the CBI teachers should be multidimensional. They should have both subject knowledge, that is the content knowledge, and they should have the language knowledge. So there will be a dual instructor. Suppose a CBI class, if it is a physics class, the CBI instructor has to have the physics knowledge and has to have the English language knowledge. That is the teacher's role. So they are asked to view their teaching in a new way, from the perspectives of the truly contextualizing their lessons by using context as a point of departure. They are almost certainly committing themselves to materials adaptation and development. So teacher will be developing and adapting the materials who are supposed to teach. So whenever a physics teacher will be trying to go in CBI class, that means the teacher has to design his materials. He has to design his materials in CBI way. That means content-based informative or instruction way. That means in general class, physics class will be delivering the lecture. It's not necessary to teach the students the language, but some linguistics underpinning will be there in CBI classes. For this reason, the teacher should be very much careful for adapting and for maintaining the curricula or CBI classes. Okay, and there are some other thing actually, and that is varying the format of classroom instruction. Okay, so it doesn't mean that in case of contextualize using group work, the team building techniques, organizing jigsaw reading arrangement, defining the background knowledge and language skill required for the student access. So many things teacher has to have in your mind to go to a CBI class. Okay, so the challenge that might come in CBI maximum are from the teacher side. So they have to do this in a language class. And the role of materials. Okay, so role of materials, as you have said, the objective. What would be the objectives? Okay, of what would be the study materials in CBI? So CBI, the elements of CBI, the materials that facilitate language learning are the materials that are used typically with the subject matter of the content course. Actually, whenever making the reading materials or the study materials of a CBI class, a teacher or the constructor or the curriculum designer should be aware of that the study materials should contain both subject matters and both the language matters. Okay, so there might be a question. So who will come first? That is the subject or the language. So that would be another discussion. What would be the compass? But the instructor or the syllabus designer or the material designer should keep in mind that they should infuse, they should prepare the materials combination of uh, combination of combination of content and combination of language as well. Okay, so and there are some contemporary models of CBI all over the world. So you see that number one, most probably you may see the thing that is theme-based language instruction. So theme-based language instruction, that syllabus is organized on theme on topics such as pollution and women's rights. So the theme will be there. So in case of theme-based language instruction for CBI, so both theme and language will be there side and side by side. That is the theme-based language instruction. Another sheltered content instruction. Another instruction or syllabus will be that sheltered content instruction. Here, the content gets priority. Okay, so content will gets priority and language will get less priority in this sheltered content instruction. And thing is that adjunct language instruction in the third model, you see that students are enrolled into linked courses, and one is content course and another is language course, with both courses sharing the same content base and completing. So here adjunct language instruction will be there, both content will be there, that is language. So that is the compromise of both language materials and content materials. Okay, so these are the several models of instruction of CBI. Okay, and several approaches are there. And another is team take approach. This is the variation of the adjunct approach. So team take approach is another approach or instruction in CBI. Okay, so that is the elaboration of this approach of CBI. Okay, so procedure will be there. There are some procedures. So we would be reading this procedure that will help you to understand the language method, that is CBI. So CBI, what it is, that is CBI based approach comes up in 1980 decades. And from its earliest application of ESP, that means English for professional special purposes, English for occupational purposes, and immersion program that we have taught. That means CBI comes up with the idea of ESP, EOP, and ESL students, and that gains attraction and academia that English language can be learned successfully. English language can be taught successfully when the students try to learn something or try to gather something or gather messages or information and content through the target language that is successful. Though there are some challenges from teacher side, material side, and also some construction side, and also from the learner side, CBI is still CBI can be an option of um, for teaching English language successfully all over the world. So that is all for CBI.